them young and to keep them going on forever and ever, were, that being the most precious thing to them. That was like their main resource, and I just thought that was like, I thought it was just really great.
And what's interesting you mentioned about that, again, if I reflect back to the Betty and Barney Hill case, she was examined, both of them were separate exams, separate rooms, and they gave her a pregnancy test. Now, the way they did it, it was like a long, needle procedure that we came up with about 4 years later. And she remember under deep hypnosis that these was in such pain. She called the leader, and the leader basically just kind of put his hand over her head, and all of a sudden the pain went away immediately. Felt no pain. And then whatever they extracted, probably some DNA structure from her uterus, to see what they were going to do with that. But this is an amazing case. Like back in '61, that all this information came out under the prominent psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon, who took that information and said, yeah, this was real substantial sighting and double amnesia that was based on a true event. So how Betty explains to him under hypnosis how they were doing the so-called test, which now, of course, today is, they kind of do it a lot different, but back became popular in the late 60s and 70s, type of pregnancy testing, that these aliens were able to do it and collect some of her, tissue, DNA. Now, for what purpose, right? They never told her what they're going to use it for, but maybe for exactly reproduction on their end, cloning, etc., or they have, like say, that those guys are talk to their, say, management, and their management talks to some government leader that we have back then, where you have this cooperative thing going on.
Right.
And how they target this couple at 11:30 at night in the middle of nowhere is interesting. But there also, the interesting point too is when I'm talking about interest in human beings, that he was black and she was white. Now back then, you never had black and white together. Back in '61, it was a total no-no. You would never hear something like that.
Yeah.
So was that the trigger? Was that the trigger to attract these, aliens, as they were just happened to somehow come by, and all of a sudden they focused on these two and saw something unique and go, well, we're going to go interrogate and do some testing.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, I always wonder why they chose them, because they weren't, as I said, they weren't of by our standards, overly intelligent or there was nothing particularly special about them.
No, not at all. Except for one had different color skin. So that was that was a curiosity point. Now how they know that, or how they were able to sense that, that's an incredible feat. Even if they were, I'm saying, they were a couple of miles away, and they were about 60,000 feet in the air, floating down, and they see this think of a little dot, like a vehicle driving through a mountain range in New Hampshire, that they said, aha, we're going to go follow these guys, and there's something about them that we could sense, so let's go check them out tonight. Which was like I say, an incredible story. But yeah.
Excellent.
It only makes sense, right? I mean, if you put your shoe on the other foot and you were the alien, you would say, what could interest us or help us that this place has? It's almost like a general thing. Like, what would say? Hey, I want to move into another state. I want to move to California. what's the attraction, like, say, from East Coast to West Coast? Well, the weather is better, different type of people, more, let's say, open, friendly, a lot more opportunities, and maybe say my field. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to give, a bunch of reasons why I need to go explore that other state. The same thing with these characters out there, what they need to explore here, because everything else is, you think about it, right? Everything else is probably dead land. I mean, the whole planetary system, maybe, our nine cousins here, all the way out from Pluto and beyond Pluto. They say, there's nothing going on there. This planet has nothing but storms. This is too cold. Look at this third planet from this big warm globular sun, and let's see what's going on there. But it's a fascinating subject to come to some kind of closure, which hopefully one day we could come to kind of a real closure and say it does exist, or really it doesn't exist. Now, it would be great to really have the yard saying it does exist, because it'd be really cool to know that, there is some other civilization, and maybe hope that there is more other civilizations beyond them, so to know what this whole storyline is. In other words, what's the reason why you and I, and Dan, we're like, why are we here on this planet? What's our purpose? Why, what's the function? If you look at it and you go, well, you're born into this planet, and some people, of course, have a lot more, let's call it luck, than other people. But then you get, you do all this effort, right? And then let's say you're trying to accomplish so much, but then you die. You die off and you're gone. So what's it all for? So in other words, I worked 7 years and saved $5 million and divided for and the people argue, well, you got to provide for your siblings. Okay. Yeah. But then all that exhausted effort is wasteful, because now I'm dead. And you go, does that make any sense? Why would you? It don't make sense. Or if you had to redesign this whole planet, wouldn't you? And then you say, wait a minute, you want to keep the person keep going, right? Like, keep on achieving,
right, reap the benefits of your learned lessons, so to speak.
Yeah,
and as you get older,
yes. In other words, you don't have an average of 80 years old. You have maybe an average of, say, 800 to 1,000 years is when you die. So by that time, all the things you could give to your fellow creatures, let's call us humans, right? The more of the benefits. Can you imagine if you still had the Einsteins going, or the Edisons and all the other great guys? It would be probably a lot more progressive than we are right now. But it's kind of a sin. It's a wasteful. You kind of say wasteful, but it doesn't make any sense logically to me. Like, you come in, you do certain tours of life, and then you go, and then you don't come back again. Well, supposedly you don't come back in that same body, but it's like, why who created it that way, and what's the reason? Maybe some of the civilizations got a better answer. So in other words, if we do come in contact with an advanced civilization, maybe they're closer to the creator and say, well, here's the reasons why you guys experienced this yet, and da-da-da-da-da. So it'd be nice to kind of know, what else is out there and how they are compared to what we go through and what we, what we witness and done, between the two. So it's
Here's a question for you, which you just really made me think, and I'm going to bring it up because I've brought it up to other people before, and I pretty much got shot down. But again, it brings in the thought of religion, but it kind of makes me think, and I've thought this before, I openly admit it, what if God, the higher entity, the higher power, what if it was alien? I mean, and there's really nothing to disprove it or prove it, but what if this higher power was an alien source? And I've been kind of obsessed with that thought because I thought we don't, God, or whatever word you want to put there, no one's ever seen. We know, the faith and how the spirituality of it, but we don't know exactly what it is. True. So what if it is of an alien life source? Yeah, I mean, exactly. What's your thought on that? That's what I'm asking you, because I've thought about this, and I haven't run into too many people that really want to go there.
Because if you think about it, if all these events in the universe are going on at the same time, I mean, stuff that's happening in galaxies that are, we couldn't even think of the number of zeros away from us, that are, creating stars. Stars are dying. So what kind of force or what kind of control? Who's controlling all these? I call it, events. All these triggered events throughout the entire universe. There's got to be, what's the force behind those triggered events? It can't be, self-propelling and self-oscillating. It doesn't make sense. There's got to be some kind of alien, like you said, some kind of huge alien force, some super force above it all that control and oversees these events throughout the universe, including our day-to-day stuff here on this little planet. So, how does the sun still stay in its perfect synchronization, day after day after day after day after day? Now, if that was, they call it chaotic combustion, basically that thing should, this from the inner core nucleus, just keep blowing out, just destroy everything. Right? Could you imagine that? So you got this, you can't even look at it with the naked eye, and you got this huge fireball in the sky that's really close by, not far, I mean, compared to the distance of the universe, and it's contained, it's self-contained, and it's perfectly matched to keep this planet and everything else alive, temperature-wise. So how is that being controlled? Well, it's a natural stuff. That's what I'm saying. Wait a minute. There's got to be some super being. Something has got to be controlling, the synchronization, how that thing stays in sync, stays intact. At the same time, controls all the other structures in this universe, keeps things in sync. Does it have, let's say, imagine the moon and the gravitational starts working against. Now the moon's getting closer and closer to get a collision. So you're right. I mean, it's got to be this alien type of force that's got to have all this in check, because there is no way, I call it free-running chaos. All this coincidence could be just by itself. It's impossible. There's no way I would believe the sun is running controllably by just a matter of what we call mathematical chaos that just burns and burns with no probability of an implosion. Right? It's impossible. It's got to be there's something controlling it. And you're exactly right. I agree with you. There's got to be some kind of alien force out there, which basically, call it God, but it is the supreme something that basically is running this whole table of stuff here.
Yeah. I know you said you had to get off at, you can only be on an hour, so I want to make sure you get all